Hey everyone, Egman here with another video, and today we're going to look at the top 16 breakdown for Carta Magica's Dragon Ball Super Unison Warrior Cup that happened this past weekend. It was an online webcam event with almost 200 players, 196, 7 rounds, and it also uses the Unison Warrior restriction, so you have to use cards from the Unison Warrior block, and it was really kind of like a farewell to the Piccolo and Gogeta leaders that, at least if they're not going away, they're going to be slightly nerfed with the changes and erratas and bans that are happening with the next set. So real quick, if you guys want this document, it will be in the description after 24 hours of this video going up. For YouTube members, you get access to that immediately. Additionally, if you guys want to see the re-upload of the entire tournament, that should be dropping the same time as this video. There's a link to it in the description and this document. And so if you guys want to see the games, it's edited down too, so it's only the first match of every round. So I hope you guys enjoy that too. So going over the top 16 lists though, we do have 4 King Piccolos, 3 Gogeta Xenos, 2 Trunks and Vegetas, 2 King Colds, 1 Sin Shenron, 1 Yellow Turles, 1 Sin Shenron Xeno, a Videl, and a Gotenks. So we're seeing a pretty wide variety. We have 9 unique leaders over 16, so I think that's a pretty good ratio. Almost half are with King Piccolo and Gogeta, so very strong right now. And I don't think either of these are like best in format 100%, and neither are need restrictions. But I'm also not too sad that they are getting restrictions. So seeing these take one last good stab at the meta before happening, we'll see if they still have any meta relevance. But having the nerfs they did are pretty tough. So we're going to go over every leader so the top placing of every leader. I do want to do a quick shout out to Rodrigo de la Rosa and also Joshua Ruiz from the AZ scene, repping the scene themselves, getting the second best finish for both of their leaders. So I will get you on the channel soon. I promise. You guys are doing amazing. Joshua also getting a top 16 finish for the for the San Diego regional in person earlier this month too. So congratulations to Josh, just doing really well with this format and everything else. So let's go into these lists. So first we do have the first place list. This is Brandall's Gogeta Xeno. Again, you can already see that the DBS Deck Planet has updated the list. So we do have Bardock, who's banned. We do have the Marvelous Might, who's banned, and the SS3 Gogeta limited to 1. So a lot of kind of the bread and butter for this list are going to be going away. I don't have much to say about that besides, what is next for this kind of archetype and everything. A lot of people are saying that we're probably going to be, maybe looking at a Super Saiyan God Trunks kind of thing. It's kind of the same idea, and it's like the next, Black Saiyan leader too. So maybe we'll kind of see that play style. We already kind of seen that deck do well already. And so, this Trunks is also from that archetype and everything else. But just want to do a big shout out to Brandall for getting first place with this. I know he's been grinding Gogeta Xeno for a very long time, and it's a very well deserved win. So there is their list. And going to second place, we have Joseph Blincoe's King Cold. And King Cold is definitely a list that is doing super well in the Unison Warrior format for the national event that happened back in November last year. There was a side event day 2 for this, and King Cold was the winner of that event. We do get a couple of new tools, pretty much just like 1 or 2. We do have the Remember the Gods, Champa Destroys, and I think Pan was already out, right? Pan was just out, so if you didn't get your Pan already, you can get it. We do have the new stamped version of Golden Freezes. That's really interesting too. We'll see another SS4 Bardock. I think everyone ran cards that are getting hit, so I think that more or less says that those cards kind of deserve to be hit than anything. But it's a really good kind of like mid-range control archetype. You just play a bunch of these field cards, you get a lot of effects. It's a lot of good sequencing, and it's a really grindy list that I think is doing really well in this format where there's kind of this restricted card pool. I don't think there's not much of anything, I would say, besides maybe a Paraga super combo instead of the Great Saiyan. Man, I think that's like the biggest thing. Maybe Cells Destroying Kamehameha, but I think Realm of the Gods Champa Destroys is pretty much what you want for that format. And we'll see. We'll see if any of the new Empower stuff helps out. We do have like a really strong Unison with the King Vegeta, so there could be some plays where the Empower on top of him could do some really good damage and everything. So that's the list. Congrats to Joseph. And next up, we do have The King Piccolo ran by Michael Legends Kerrick, I think is the better way to say it. We do see some banned cards on this boy too. Strictly the piano, which this is the second time that we're getting like a big ban for the King Piccolo list, including also the King Piccolo Jr. So you immediately have to take out 8 cards from this list: 4 of the piano, 1 of the Mass Saiyan, and 3 of the Piccolo Jr. I think the biggest thing about this list is that this Piccolo Jr. is so great. Is like the best turn 2 play of the deck, right? So what is the Unison to go from there? I'm not immediately sure. And without piano, I think the archetype can still. I don't know. I think the archetype can still survive. Obviously, piano gets a lot of value, and only being down to 1 drum, but you still can do the things you want to do. Piano just is less card draw, which if you only get to draw 1 card when it's out anyways, it's fine. And I think people will still try to make this deck work, and I would not be surprised if it is. It's still just the leader's really strong. The leader, I think, is what carries the archetype more than anything. So if the leader's still around, and you still have some Demon Clan cards that come out for free, I can definitely see it, still do well in a format. This Piccolo Jr., just being able to play this for free is also, as a negate, that's a double strike blocker, 20k, is also just an absurd amount of value. So I don't know. I think people will still try it. I don't think it's dead in the water, but you are losing a lot of cards, and it just depends on if there's a kind of a unison or something to take the presence of what Piccolo was doing. And I think that's it. I just also want to shout out to Michael Kerrick as well, that he's only lost 1 match in 2 weekends. So he lost to Brandall in the finals as well. So doing super well, obviously doing well in the in-person regionals. Playing Invoker, that deck's getting nerfed. Now this deck's getting nerfed too. So I'm really curious what he's going to play Invoker still, or what's he going to be doing in the next format. But I just want to do a special shout out to him as well. Next up, we do have Bryan Samuel with the father, son, Trunks and Vegeta. Bryan obviously has a large winning streak on a lot of things in Dragon Ball Super. Already has his regional invite from the San Diego regional as well. So playing in this event with pretty much the same deck, we are seeing, Mass Saiyan is being banned as well. But this list kind of lives on for a while. It's really dependent on finding these cards. You still have Poutine, which is probably still the most obnoxious card in the deck, even if you're only playing at 1. And Yellow just has so many good tools, and none of them got hit for this next set. So I think Trunks and Vegeta are going to be in a good spot to keep doing what it's doing. Obviously, they pretty much get 1 or 2 tops since release. So I think that's doing well for them, and we'll have to see if it keeps going that way. But honestly, not losing a lot from not having this, besides like a Final Flash, which you can use your Realm of the Gods for instead. And I don't know, Mecha Frieza is still so good, and everything else. It's just there's a lot of good yellow text that still exists just from the Unison Warrior block. Next up, we do have Eon Hill's Sin Shenron, and Sin Shenron's been around for a long time, 2 years now this summer. And at least from Sit 10, it is like the oldest list in the format, just because it came out when Unison Warrior came out. The only kind of new text that we got, I don't know. It's just a strong list, and a lot of people are just running the cards verbatim. And I don't know. It's very, very pilot centered, not necessarily deck build, because a lot of the builds are mostly the same. You got to choose if you want to do aggressive or defensive, and this is definitely a more aggressive build because you can see the Rage Shenrons in there. You do not have access to the Cell Xeno because that is a set 9 card, but Pan is still a fantastic drop for it. And using those Bardocks while you still have them. And I think every list either runs Bardock or Secret Identity. So both those cards getting hit, I think, is going to impact so many deck lists moving forward. But since Shenron's been good, it's been, I think, like it's consistent like tier 2 list at least for the entire run of its existence, and I don't really see it going anywhere anytime soon. It's still doing really, really well. Next up, we do have Nicolas Menard's Yellow Turles, and this is one I'm really excited that did well. I've been testing this leader myself in PT17, and just the pure value of starting off with Tree of Might with 1 marker on it, but guess what? It's actually 3 markers on it because it's 2 from the leader placing it, and the auto is proccing when it's your opponent's starting their turn. So if your opponent is going first, you get a 3rd marker on this for free, and the flip and everything else. It's such a good card, and there's very minimal empower in this list. It's only the Rumshi, getting the empower to draw a card and then also choose all your opponent's battle cards in rest mode and KO them. So a great effect there. Your opponent has to put a lot of resources to popping this tree, and they normally would not want to do that. So I think he's a really good leader generically for yellow, and with these Empower things that are coming out, I think a lot of people are going to be trying that out. Other than that, pretty generic stuff for yellow. Again, Lord Slug is such a good package. The Steadfast Assistance, the Turles, all too easy, and it's in Archetype technically, so that's kind of fun. And then you get to 4 of these Vegeta Prideful transformations. Just because you get to, they're pretty much active for the entire game. You start with a Unison with 3 markers, and because of that, your Vegeta's just doing super fine. Other than that, we do have the Secret Identity that is getting banned, as we've told. Release from Evil at a Fora, because again, you're always going to have that Unison up, more or less, unless your opponent really wants to get rid of it, when in that case, they probably have to put a lot of resources to it. And yeah, it's a good deck. Death Blaster as well, which I think was also played in... I guess he wasn't playing. I thought I saw him playing it. Yeah, Death Blaster, just a sneaky card if you need it, since you are playing a bunch of extra cards. And I'm excited to see Turles. I think it's going to do some work in PT17. I'm excited to see that happen. Next up, we do have Scott Dashy's Sin Shenron Xeno. My goodness. This is kind of like a pseudo mill kind of control archetype, and I think this is definitely a deck where you capitalize on your opponent not necessarily knowing what your deck does. It's kind of conditional card draw too, because you have to you get draw and you get some cycle depending on hitting Shadow Dragons, which most of these cards are. And obviously, since this is a deck that is completely built from the set, from the Unison Warrior set, you can just build it, make it the ratios you want, and then it's very pilot centric from there. So I don't know, really disruptive effects. Obviously, a bunch of extra cards that just get these pops. We know that Dragon Slaying Bullet has been obnoxious and had to get eroded as well. Probably the only list not playing, at least in the top 16, any cards that are getting banned. So that's kind of fun to see. And it's a very strong deck. I've been wanting to pick this up for a while, ever since Cheyenne did their top with it earlier this year. And maybe I will. Maybe if there's another Unison Warrior event, I'll think about picking this up. It's super fun. So congrats to Scott Dashy there. We next up have Marc Young's Videl. As what I've heard is that they also played in last week's Unison Warrior event and top 16 with it too. So getting that double top 16 list is really cool. And congrats to Marc on that one. Videl was kind of expected to be a good deck when it first came out. At least was spoiled for me, just being able to get a lot of Spirit Boost triggers and also being able to get the cycle that you want and everything else. It kind of fell flat if your opponent knows how to play around it, and just kind of swing into your dues and stuff, or at least just not pay attention to your Unison, because you can just swing at your leader. You're a 5k then 10k leader, so you do have that minus low power and everything. But there's a lot of heroine support. We do have the Great Saiyaman 2, which actually this might not be Heroine in its support, unless it calls out Videl specifically. I don't think it does. Yeah, it does not. But you have your skillless cards, and these are heroines right here. And we also do have the Chilai promo. When this card's played from your hand, draw 1. If your leader card is a heroine, you get the skills for the game, so it becomes skillless. And just, I don't know, green has a good couple cards that survive the Unison Warrior blip, and I think this is a really fun list and run by a very good pilot as well. So congrats on your double top 16 finish. Also, it does have Pan the Courageous Use, which is a double strike in Archetype, and it's one of the few Champas that still exist in this format. So you can, I bet you caught 1 or 2 persons off guard thinking, oh, they can't double strike, there's no Champa in the game, and then this was able to just do that. So that's my thought, and maybe that's right. And then lastly, we do have, this is Timothy Palacios' Gotenks, and Gotenks is kind of the same thing as kind of King Cold. It did really well for a very long time when it was released. It was kind of a meta deck for a while, and it's really fun. It's really fun. It came out in 2020, I believe, so there wasn't a big event for it to kind of premiere at, since there wasn't a national championships in 2020. But just being able to do all of your union plays, Vegeta is such a strong Unison, as we're re-finding out again with the Cell Ultimate deck as well. And being able to get the disruption and everything else in a format where there's not a lot of interaction that you're used to, I think that is really good. And you can get some hand destruction with Rosie. Obviously, you can't play V Brienne. You do have one of the Majin Boos too, but I don't know. Gotenks is a really fun list, and being able to do the plays that you're able to do is really good. So that is it. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. Congrats to also all of our top 16 players as well. Again, if you want this document, it will be in the description for everyone at 24 hours after this video is released, and channel members specifically for the first 24 before that. Again, the VODs will be in the description of this video too, and probably linked at the end of this video. And they should be live if you guys want to see some of the matches from these players. So that's going to be it for me. Thank you again to Carta Magica for giving me these lists, these VODs, and I'll catch you all next time.
Damn it. Damn it.